everyone. Hi, jurors. So my name is Faroukh, and I want to tell you about my short film called Vimana. It's a science fiction drama about two Indian astronauts who are on their way to a distant planet, but they lose their captain along the way, and it's up to the two of them to complete this mission for India's growing space program. A little bit about myself and where this idea came from. Growing up, my parents operated an Indian video rental store, so like the sights and the sound of Bollywood are always in my home, like it's sort of a wallpaper, and it's kind of in my blood now. But I also grew up a fan of films such as Star Wars and Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica. So these two things were dancing in my mind, and the two came together. And it's been something I've been thinking about for a while. And now I'm approaching my USC thesis as I'm about to graduate. And so I thought this would be the perfect vehicle to express myself. So I wanted to show you a segment from my Kickstarter to introduce you a little bit more to the project and the tone. Oh, hello. My name is Faroukh, and I'm communicating with you from the planet Gliese. It's in outer space, where I am. I wanted to tell you about my USC thesis film. It's called Vimana, and it's a story of love, loss, and redemption, set during a deep space mission of the Indian space program. When the captain of the ship, Rishi, falls ill and passes away, it's up to the two remaining astronauts, Pankaj and Naz, to complete the mission in his memory. I've grown up influenced by both the cinema of the East and the West, and I wanted to try to bring the two together in one of my favorite genres, science fiction. So now we are currently trying to raise support to help get our production off the ground, so to speak, and we could use your help. Oh no.
We ran out of money to pay the animator.
Dang. Okay, so maybe we could use a bit more support, but we already have a lot of great pieces in place, like we have a fantastic spaceship build in progress, where we're going to shoot most of our film. Right, Maria?
Right.
Pretty good. Okay, so we could definitely use your support. Bringing the reality of a space journey to life is not easy, but luckily we've got a talented team of visionaries and designers ready to work together and collaborate to help bring this story to life. That goes for all aspects of the film, including hiring a dialect coach, because we are shooting in Hindi language and we really want that to be authentic. Great camera and lighting packages to make it look as sharp and beautiful as possible, and food to feed the crew. The makeup artist wants a vegan steak. Can we get one of those?
Faroukh.
Making student films is hard, but this is a project that all of us believe so much in. We hope you'll consider supporting this creative endeavor, and honestly, any contribution would mean so much to us. You'll be supporting our dreams, and more importantly, helping us get to outer space. We hope to build a functional rocket and shoot this film in space.
Thanks for donating.
While the tone is humorous and sort of makes light of the difficulty of making a science fiction film, it's actually tonally a serious drama. And it's set in the distant future, and it presupposes that India is undergoing great inundation and land loss, and they're trying to find more space to carry on and prolong human life. So it's the goal of these astronauts on board this ship to extend human existence. So the stakes are high for these astronauts, and when they lose their captain, all hope is lost. But it's up to Pankaj and Naz, the two remaining astronauts, to carry this through. And the two astronauts who remain reflect part of my personal life. I actually recently lost my father to a failed lung transplant in 2009. And it was my mom who fought with the doctors every day beside his bed to try to make sure that he makes through the surgery and survives. There was this sort of conflict between science and humanity, and my mom wanting him to live on. I saw this in the character of Naz. She wants to get him to the planet and let him complete the mission. So it was a fun way to sort of reflect something that came from my own life. So I thought science fiction was the perfect vehicle to do this, because when you place people in these sort of demanding scientific situations, it forces us to question our existence and why we do what we do on this planet. While astronomy is in the forefront, the real the real science of the film is the imperfect science of humanity. Because we've been on this earth for thousands of years, but still we don't quite know how to connect with each other and live on. And so in India, there is truth to the growing space program. They are currently in a growing space race with China. It's no longer in the domain of the West. I think the East, between China and India, they want to be the next power in space exploration. And recently China had a failed mission to Mars, and India is now going to try to occupy that space and be the one to successfully launch the next orbiter. Where are we now? We're currently developing, and I'm working with some great advisors at USC. I have Tom Abrams. He's an award-winning writer looking over my script. I'm working with Michael Fink, who also an award-winning visual effects artist. He's worked on films such as Blade Runner, X-Men, and most recently Life of Pi. So he's really going to make sure that all of our scientific visual effects look really great. And also I have a scientific advisor who's looking over the science, because the planet in the film is an actual planet, 581G. It was recently discovered, and it's just in the right position in relation to its sun, and it has water and all the elements required for human life. And so we're going to be casting, and I want to shoot it in Hindi language so that it might have a home not only in America, but also in India, and maybe in the diaspora communities in between. So we're working with South Asian American or born actors, but who do speak Hindi natively. And then we're going to try to engage our audience to get people excited about this project. We're just beginning that process, but we're using Facebook and Twitter, but we're also reaching out to astronomy communities. I'm in talks with the Indian Space Organization and seeing if they want to have a face on the film, because it is about their space growth. We're also working with like the LA Sidewalk Astronomical Society, LA astronomers, and they have these monthly public star parties in LA, and we all go out in the lawn of the Griffith Park Observatory with telescopes, and we stare at the skies. But we've been talking with them and thought it might be interesting to do the next one, which is like the first Friday of every month, and invite out some sort of Indian dancers and do sort of Bollywood performance, have some Indian food and chai, and just to create, help brand the project and show it as something that bridges the East and the West, and also could kind of encourage enthusiasm about science and future scientists. So raising funds, we're trying to raise $16,000, and all that's going to go to building the space set. We're going to shoot it all on a spaceship set on USC stages, and we've got very demanding visual effects. So any support that anyone is able to offer would be greatly appreciated. So here's how to reach us. Our hashtag on Twitter is Indians in Space. I think it's a new space, because like, although there's our science fiction films out of Bollywood, it's not a huge realm. But so the goal of the film is to create a vehicle on the surface, which seems like a science fiction film, but underneath that there's we explore social norms in India and the treatment of women, and start a conversation about those things and India's place in the world as a growing industrialized power. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Faroukh. Thank you. And Shadi, let's start with you.
Thank you for that. I think, first of all, I love this idea of blending the East and West. I think that's really cool, and it seems like you're really on a really solid track with it. The fact that it's connected to a deeply personal story just makes it even more cool and powerful. So that's just really, I really want to kind of commend you for bringing that piece into it. So a few things. I would say with regards to, one, I would really want to know, what is it that you really want people to get out of this story? What is it that you want the takeaway to be? What do you want people to be thinking about? What kind of conversation do you want them to be having? It seems like that vision is in there, but I didn't really fully hear it in the presentation. The other piece about it being in Hindi, I think you've really kind of thought about who your audience is. As you know, with subtitled films, it does tend to have a more limited audience. So if that's really, I would just kind of think more, well, you know, you've probably given it thought, but just I would prompt you to think about, you know, is this really for, who is the core audience for this? Is it intended for that? How can I really maximize that core audience? Am I limiting myself with the subtitling? You would know better than I do, and I know that this is about kind of tapping into the Bollywood fan audience too, so just something to think about. And those are my quick thoughts.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing your personal connection. I really wish that I felt that and saw that, because a lot of people who are going to be connected to you is going to be through the social media, right? beyond just your personal sphere. And it's a very powerful story. One thing, I loved the trailer. I mean, it's so funny. You're so funny and you're adorable. But I just wonder if that sets up an expectation of this film to be very funny. Right, so I expected this to be Kumar and Kumar out in space, where they break out and song and dance and smoke pot on the way to this. I mean, I'm just thinking like, Bollywood meets Star Wars. I mean, it could be really, really funny, but you're saying right now that it's a very serious drama, and so there's a level of expectation, I think, that from what I've seen so far, and even looking at this, I don't see a serious drama from this. So, just to be careful in setting that level of expectation. And I think you already said it, that you're still developing kind of your social engagement piece. How can we, beyond just donating and following you, how can the audience be part of this journey, so to speak? And also when you talk about who you're focusing on, these astrological groups, is it too narrow of a focus?
Great. I love the hashtag. Yeah, I'm just echoing some of these comments. Like, is this a serious film? And if that is, it doesn't come across in the Kickstarter campaign as the vehicle for it, right? There was no real. I didn't until you did the pitch. I didn't know the personal connection, and those are asking really big questions, and just to be mindful of that. The real question I have is, how are you gonna pull this off?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like to me, you got to sell me on that part, both through the campaign and through the pitch. It's like, because my understanding is like a science fiction film is gonna cost $100 million, and so whatever you can do, little things to help kind of lower my anxiety about you actually being pulling this off would be great. And so some of that is I would. Unless there is a real strong reason to have like a USC thesis film as part of the moniker that kind of travels around, I would think about pulling back on that and not saying this is a student film, but saying that this is a film. But then again, but there might be a lot of weight with USC, so you'll make that decision. Yep.
Faroukh, would you like to respond to some of the comments or questions?
Sure. Yeah, thank everyone for the feedback. Yeah, that was difficult. I mean, we thought it'd be a funny way to like show the needs required in building a science fiction film to make it sort of a funny Kickstarter and give it a viral quality that's kind of fun to watch. But yeah, I if I can find a way to sell the serious story more, because I feel like that is missing, and that's an important part of the film. But I think in response to what's the actual goal of the film, and I kind of touched on it, but not clearly. But I think images of women in Bollywood are sort of like over-objectified and over-sexualized, and I think with the recent gang rapes in India, I didn't get a chance to get to it in my presentation, but with this woman who's sort of the lead in the film, and she's a strong Muslim woman, I thought that might be able to shift things, and to see more media like this would be very interesting to me. So that was one of the goals, and but yeah, and then in terms of pulling it off, we budgeted it and we've worked with some advisors at USC, and it just happens to be my USC film, and maybe I don't necessarily need to market that way, but they're going to be giving me resources. We're going to be using their stages, and they've got a lot of green screen, and we have a lot of visual effects artists at USC, so they're sort of giving me the infrastructure to help pull this off, and I think within our total budget is $40,000, but I think within that budget we can pull it off. We've sort of talked with Michael Fink a lot, and he feels pretty confident about it, so it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm ready for the journey and hope I can tell this personal story, and yeah, but also build a community around it, because that's what's really important. So yeah, but this opportunity at CAAM would go a long way. So thank you very much.
And we have time for, I think, one or two from the audience. And there's one over here.
Hi, I'm Susie. You just mentioned that you're going to have a strong Indian Muslim woman as a lead character in the film, but I didn't see that in the Kickstarter campaign thing, and I think that would be important to include. So I don't know, you might want to think about it, because personally I would like to see more Asian female characters highlighted in films, and I don't really see it a lot. So that's maybe something you want to think about.
Okay, yeah, we might try to find more ways of, through our social media, introducing the characters and building it up more, because yeah, I might have gotten lost in the text in the Kickstarter. But yeah, thank you, that's what I hope for too, yeah.
Well, Faroukh, thank you so much.
Thank you.